are close to making history. This can literally be a watershed moment if we go home with a comprehensive political agreement at the highest level that includes a global emissions reduction target and commitments by all countries to take actions to achieve that target. We also, as I said, need to support developing nations in improving the frequency and the transparency of their reporting and establish a structure to assess our progress towards our stated goals. I believe that can be achieved here in the next 3 days. In addition, we should build on the Bali Action Plan to ensure that RED plays an important role in the agreement here. And a final but critical component of an agreement here in Copenhagen, which I've already mentioned a couple of times, is finance. Earlier this week, the U.S. Congress injected over $1.2 billion into a variety of international climate change priorities, including efforts to advance clean energy technologies and reduce deforestation. This is just the beginning, in my judgment, the beginning of an effort to support a global fast start financing contribution on the order of $10 billion, and subsequently to engage in the long-term finance that is so critical to the developing world. I believe, personally, that the United States should be prepared to do more in that regard as other countries clarify their own efforts for transparency and mitigation. Clearly, funding must ramp up significantly in future years as part of a global deal, which includes a structure to direct financing in an effective and an accountable way. We also need to consider innovative ideas to meet this financing challenge. It doesn't just have to be money out of a treasury. There are many creative ways in which we can begin to do this, such as expanding the efforts of the development banks, dedicating revenues for putting a price on carbon, exploring other internationally agreed sectoral mechanisms. And vitally, in the end, we have to recognize these priorities. Speaking just as an American, I will tell you, and I urge this to the administration and to my colleagues in the Congress. We've put about $141 billion into TARP over the next years for economic recovery at home, and we should. That's our first priority, needless to say. And we've had an extraordinary $700 billion spent to date in Iraq, and $228 billion or so in Afghanistan. What we're talking about is a small percentage, folks, of things that we have seen fit to deem priorities in other parts of our budget. And I believe deeply that there is no greater priority. Ranks right up there with all of our national security concerns is meeting this challenge of global climate change. So we have to agree on a process to come back together next year to transform this Copenhagen political agreement into a binding international treaty. I believe that process should not delay. I've said previously, and I say again, that I think early summer date of June or July of 2010 is realistic and necessary, and I think that will help us keep the pressure on, both on this effort as well as our own domestically in the United States. The truth is, my friends, we are reaching the limits of how far each of us can go if we go it alone. People in every country are asking, if we go forward, will others follow? So we need to build trust in the process, and we need to trust each other. Brazil and Indonesia have to be confident that the international community will provide sufficient financial support. Europe and Japan need to be convinced that the rest of the world will join in taking sufficient steps forward. It is really easy. I've been at these since Rio. I know the ups and downs. I was in Kyoto. I understand how it works. And it's really easy to get pulled away seeing the ups and downs of a week like we've seen already. Emotions run high. And while we sometimes may want to walk away from each other, none of us can truly afford to walk away from this problem.